Process area, lease management. Within the lease management service, the system gives you multiple capabilities, which include the dashboard, tenant management, the lease approval process, active lease management, termination of a lease, maintenance of a lease, tenant invoicing, and the setups. From the setup area, the system gives you the capability to define all the charge types that you have within the leasing. You're also able to manage all the maintenance types as well as all the document types required during the lease application process. Once that's done, from the dashboard, you're able to see all the units that are available for lease. And from here, they are all distributed based on a project, and you can actually also search by the project unit as well. From here, by selecting add a lease, the service will require for you to determine whether you want to do a month-on-month lease or a fixed term lease. And each of these options will have a requirement at the bottom. For a fixed term, you state when the lease begins and when the lease ends. While as a month-on-month, you determine when the lease begins. You also determine when the payment of each month is called for by the tenant. From here, you also then define the rent amount. You define the collection period, whether it's monthly, quarterly, semi-annually. If there is a deposit, you define what deposit amount is required. You define when the deposit is meant to be due. And if you want to charge it in the current month. If you want to charge it in the current invoice, by enabling this, you then capture all the total amount that is expected within the first collection period. Additional charge types will be available at the bottom here, which all you'll do is activate it and capture the amount that would be the charge type required. After that, you then are able to capture the tenant information, and from this, you can define the tenant. You define their last name, their email address, ID number, phone number, WhatsApp number, and the source of tenant. Dependent on the source of the tenant, if they came from a broker, the system will be requiring for you to capture whether you're going to give them a commission and what will be the commission amount. Also, you're able to capture multiple tenants within the same unit, which then allows for you to have a shared family within a unit. Once the tenant and the lease details have been created, all you do is create the lease as shown above. Once the lease is successfully created, you then come into the lease approval process, which allows for you to view all the particulars about the tenants, the leases that have been created from here, sample this, and you could then be able to see a summary of the lease, what are the details that are required, who is the tenant summary, what are their contacts, and what is the total rent amount. Also, you're able to determine whether you want to approve the lease or reject the lease. And if approved, you can also send the lease agreement to the tenant automatically from here. Once the lease has been approved, the tenant has now been marked as an active lease owner and would be available within the active lease area. From here, you're able to view actions appertaining to that tenant, such as view the lease invoices, the lease summary, the tenant agreement, and the agency agreement. And from the invoicing information, it will show a monthly collectible amount for this very tenant, and the system will have the ability to auto invoice each and every month based on the frequency that was created at the point of the tenant. You're also able to download a summary of the tenant, which will then give you the capability to view the very unit and the lease in accordance to the unit allocation in the very system as well. You're also able to view the tenant agreement, which will be based on the template that would have been configured within the system as well. And lastly, you can also generate a schedule of all the leases as a template report, which then can be used for any decisions and review within the business. Beyond this, you are also able to view all the tenants that have been created and the units that have been allocated to those tenants. And in each, by clicking the view button, you're able to see the tenant biodata, the unit they are allocated to, and within the actions, you can view the lease contract, raise a maintenance request, and view the lease schedule as well from here. Beyond that, if in case you want to manage invoices, include other invoices such as water bills, electric bills, you're able to come and manage that from the tenant invoicing, and you can do a bulk upload from here as well. The system will demonstrate all the invoices that have been invoiced to the tenants, and for those that have not yet been paid, it will be able to mark them as pending as well. This counts as the total invoice schedule for all the tenants that have been generated within the system. Also, where the system has a frequency of billing, the system will be able to auto invoice from just selection of this button here. If in case there is a tenant request for maintenance, the system gives you the capability to create service providers from here who are required to be used for the tenant maintenance items. You're also able to create a new service maintenance request from here, where you select the unit, the type of maintenance request based on the setup, requested by who, whether the tenant, developer, house owner, when it was requested, and any documentation that would be required. Once the maintenance item has been created, you're able to make a decision as to whether it has been done or not yet done within the system as well. You can also terminate active leases, and from here, the system gives you a visibility of all the active leases that are running, and all you'll do is come, select the unit, and determine, it will show you the amount that has been leased out, what is the deposit, what is the arrears that the tenant has, any maintenance fee, refundable amount, and when they actually left from here. And you could capture the reason as why they left, and attach any documentation as evidence. And that would lead to the termination of a unit. Besides that, within the dashboard, you can be able to view all other units that are available, and you can be able to also see the units that have been allocated and those that have been purchased from here. And where you want to know the owner, you are able to determine the owner of a unit, whether it's a developer or has a purchaser of that very unit from the sales process. Thank you.